So today our topic is about introduction of keystone species. So how we can define the keystone species? A keystone species is a species with a dramatically large effect on an ecosystem relative to its abundance. So why the keystone species matter? Because it maintain the ecological balance, support the biodiversity, and stabilize the food webs. So there are different types of the keystone species. The first one is the predators, which include the wolves and the shark. The second one is the ecosystem engineers, which include the beavers. And the third one is the keystone plants, for example, fig trees. So first we discussing the keystone predators, which control the prey population, also prevent overpopulation and influence species behavior and the distribution. So first we done the introduction to wolves. So wolves are apex predators in the terrestrial ecosystem. It found forest and grasslands, for example, Yellowstone's National Park having a special type of the wolves. So wolves and trophic cascades, for example, it reduced the overabundant herbivores, for example, deers. It changed the prey behaviors and the movements, and it triggered the ecosystem, which having the wide effects. Now we're discussing the Yellowstone's National Park. This is the wolves reintroduced in 1995, which having the populations decline and move differently vegetations recorded. So there is some ecological changes from wolves, for example, regrowth of the trees of the shrubs, improve the habits for the birds and the beavers, and stabilize the river banks and the streams. Shark is also a keystone. For example, this is the apex predator in marine ecosystem, and it regulates the fish and ray populations, which maintain the ball in the ocean. Shark and the marine food webs having a special role. For example, it remove the weak and spicy prey, prevent the dominancy of one species, and promote the healthy fish communities. The third one is the coral reef ecosystem. Basically, it is the shark limit mid-level predators. It protects the herbivorous species, and it helps to prevent the algae and the overgrowth. So there is some consequences of the shark, for example, overpopulation of rays and smaller predators, which decline in the shellfish and reef health, and it also reduce the biodiversity. So human impact on the keystone. For example, hunting and overfishing is the impact of human, habitat loss and the climate changes is the human impact on the keystone. So now the question is conservation of the keystone species to protect the areas and the laws for the sustainable fishing practices and for the public education. There is some benefits of protecting the keystone species, for example, healthier ecosystem, increase the biodiversity and the long-term environmental stability. So this diagram shows the biodiversity of our human life. This is all about the keystone species and the change in the biodiversity. Thank you so much.